Right, WCW Invades Baywatch. Quick disclaimer, the only thing I know about Baywatch is that it starred Pamela Anderson, Carmen Electra and David Hasselhoff. I know I'm an uncultured swine who should stick to that kiddie wrestling stuff and let the real men talk about Baywatch. Thing is, when big boys Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Ric Flair, Vader and Kevin Sullivan show up for a WCW Baywatch crossover, that kind of thing's right up my alley, and even without ever seeing this episode before in my life, I know it's got Blunder material written all over it. Now, President Ric Flair's at the top of our Blunder leaderboard with 18 points. I'm going to have to be a wee bit liberal with WCW Baywatch if it's going to overtake Slick Rick. I don't think anyone's here for accurate scoring anyway, and if you are, then you're going to be disappointed. We're here to have fun, ladies and gents, so if I see anything that's remotely off, a little wrong or a bit stupid, it's going to get a point. So let's check out Baywatch, Season 6, Episode 15, aptly named Bash at the Beach. Alright, the theme music for Baywatch, I've definitely heard this before, absolute banger. I bet lifeguards around the world play this every single morning while eating breakfast. I do wonder though, how many shows can you make about people in danger at the beach? How many sharks are there visiting this beach? How many people are going to drown before you put up a sign saying, can't swim, don't swim? Look at all these beautiful people in the intro too. All these beautiful people in David Hasselhoff. If you were ugly, you had no chance in getting a role in Baywatch. This guy wearing the budgie smuggler looks like a total heel though. He's the kind of guy who would turn on his partner just to get a shot at the TV title. So we begin with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage having a race on their jet skis. Macho says, "You'll beat me in your dreams, Hogan," and Hulk's like, "I'll beat you for your world title on Nitro 24 hours after you win it on pay-per-view, brother." Things are neck and neck until Macho cuts the Hulkster off. Hogan had a chance to kick out at 2 and Hulk up, but he gets distracted by the official who's on another jet ski. Hogan can't believe how great Nick Patrick looks, and Nick gives Hulk a compliment that makes Hogan say, "Wow." Thinking with his head and not his little Hulkamaniac, Hogan leaves Nick behind to catch up with Macho. Yasmin Bleeth, who plays the role of Caroline, wants to get a good view of the action, seeing as she bought nosebleeds for this sold-out main event. But then tragedy strikes when Hogan hits a wave and... Blunder point number 1, get some basic jet ski lessons before thinking you're the Mario Andretti of the ocean. Hogan probably found this bit very easy to reenact, seeing as he was apparently involved in a jet ski accident just before WrestleMania 9, though that incident has always been debated. CJ also bought some crappy seats, and I don't know why, but this image of Hulk Hogan through the binoculars made me laugh. Maybe he just saw a cool looking fish or something. Big Pam runs over to check if Hulkamania is dead forever, while Caroline dashes over to get an autograph. Someone named Julie radios back to Baywatch headquarters for backup or something, and Macho sees all the attention Hogan's getting, and he definitely wants a piece of that action. A crew of Baywatch beauties drag Hogan onto the beach, and Wood from the Hood gets mouth to mouth from CJ. Whatever the opposite of a blunder point is, this is it right here. Hogan looks around, he looks at the women who just saved his life. He thinks he died and just went to heaven, and Caroline can't believe that this is really Hulk Hogan. Yes, Hogan, Savage and the rest of the WCW crew play themselves in this episode of Baywatch, but it's like kayfabe versions of themselves, if such a thing exists. They're the pro wrestlers we all know, but their backstories and motivations have been changed. CJ says Hulk could have been killed, and Hogan's like, "Don't worry about it, brother, creative control." And Macho then arrives as the lifeguards talk about being closet wrestling fans. Don't be ashamed, girls, it could be worse. Macho likes what he sees, but more important matters are at hand. He wants to know why Hollywood left him to check out some beach babes, and Hulk's like, "I almost died, you absolute bastard." Only joking, he's more angry about Macho cutting him off during that race. Seriously, he almost died, but he just doesn't care. So Macho wants to throw down right here, right now, in a one-on-one match for the World Heavyweight title. The boys disappear to find a wrestling ring while the lifeguards look on in complete disbelief. We have another running story through this episode, it seems, as David Hasselhoff bothers a lady named Stephanie. I'm sure Baywatch fans are screaming at their screen about my lack of Baywatch knowledge, but let me tell you a little secret. I don't care. Stephanie's going to a picnic with her boyfriend Tom, and the Hoff seems very interested in Stephanie's business. I don't know, dude, he's getting a bit too close if you ask me. Plus, this Tom guy apparently is David's best friend. There's definite tension between these two, and maybe this tension can get eased a little tonight with a wrestling match. Steph meets up with Tom on the beach. Tom's getting a bit frisky until he sees a mole on Stephanie's leg. He totally kills the mood by telling Steph to come to his office first thing in the morning for a checkup. And yeah, not something you want to joke about really, is it? We come back to the beach where Wood from the Hood shoots his shot with Big CJ. He didn't bring his paperclip necklace though, so his chances are slim. He did remember to wear his denim jeans and fucking cowboy boots though, so that's blunder point number 2. This is not adequate beach attire, Mr. Wood. Hogan thanks CJ for saving his life. He says he was reckless and he hasn't been in that kind of danger since main event in Starrcade 94 against the Butcher live on pay-per-view. CJ thinks this guy's a complete dork when he says the jet ski took more damage than what he did. And when Hogan notices he's not going to get into Pamela's swimsuit, he quickly changes the subject to the Venice Beach Youth Centre. The Youth Centre means a lot to Hulk, and if it wasn't for some dude named Sonny and his time at the centre, then Hulk would have been wild out on the street. CJ says, "You're fucking wild right now, mate, with that denim gear in the blazing hot sun." Hogan learns that the youth centre's up for sale, but the buyer's completely unknown. Hogan says he pays for his crimes by helping out kids, so he wants to head over to the centre and try to help as much as he can. And he's definitely not doing all this just to get into Pamela's underwear, by the way. Absolutely not. So Hulk and Macho go to the youth centre, and Hogan's way of helping kids is to do some clanging and banging. A young lad just stands and gawks at the power of Hulkamania, and Hogan's like, "Yeah, you like that, don't you, kid?" Blunder point number 3, wearing your wrestling gear during a workout. Macho even has his little frilly tights on, and clearly he's drawn a lot of unwanted attention. Sonny, the owner of the club I presume, welcomes Hulk and Randy back to their old stomping ground, while Cody here introduces our grappler friends, the Luke and Sam. These kids are bummed that they're going to lose the only place they can go to work out, but super heel Cody here tells the boys to shut their mouths and get back to lifting weights. Sonny says he's broke. If not for the Lifeguards, this place would have been gone ages ago. Hulk explains that the youth centre saved his ass from drugs and life on the streets, while Macho says it saved him from absolutely nothing, and he's actually high as a kite right this moment. The Hoff, meanwhile, doesn't want hassle as he gets a workout in back at Baywatch headquarters. And I don't know, man, maybe the kids could train here and problem solved? Maybe? Does David Hasselhoff really need to be on that treadmill all day? He finishes up and Steph informs him that she had a biopsy done this morning, possible skin cancer. Tom gave her a lecture about protecting herself in the sun, and David's like, "Don't worry, think positive." Someone else who's definitely thinking positive is Randy Savage as he bench presses £5 million, but then a limousine pulls up and this must be the new owners of the youth club. Out pops Kevin Sullivan and boom, blunder point number 4. Painted on eyebrows, a suit that was definitely not pressed before the cameras began rolling. I mean, look at the state of him. Ric Flair and Vader also appear, and Flair's the property developer who purchased the youth club. I actually think Rick makes a great real estate tycoon, and do keep in mind he's in full Flair mode here. This is Richard Flair acting like Ric Flair, acting like a big shot property executive. Rick says the last time he saw Macho Man Randy Savage, he was under the Nature Boy's shoe. Vader does nothing but growl like a big old grizzly bear, while Sullivan just laughs like an absolute madman. Even this kid's like, what the fuck's going on here then? Macho wants to know what Flair's been up to, seeing as he's now an old retired pro wrestler. Flair thought he made it painfully obvious, but Slick Rick's now in the buying kids youth centres and ruining their dreams business, and he's here to get a good look at the property that he just purchased. Flair's going to turn this into the finest crack den this side of Venice Beach, and Kevin Sullivan's going to work the front desk. When CJ says Flair can't do this, he says he can because he's the Nature Boy. And then the whole thing gets turned into a wrestling storyline when Hulk challenges Flair to a one-on-one match. Winner takes all. We have had some weird things up for grabs in previous pro wrestling matches, such as the custody of Dominic Mysterio, Viagra, the services of a lady for 30 days and 30 nights, but now we're battling over a youth centre on Baywatch. Flair wants to know what Hogan's gonna put up, and not joking, Hulk says the WCW Championship. So Ric then decides he wants to make it a team affair, with Vader taking on Hogan and Ric taking on Macho Man. This doesn't make sense, seeing as Hulk just offered Flair a World Championship match. So blunder number 5, bad booking, brother. Vader says he's gonna rip Hogan's head off. Hulk says he could beat Vader with his eyes closed. Vader then takes a basketball from some poor kid and he busts it with his bare hands, while Sullivan continues laughing like an absolute mental case. And by the way, why is Kevin Sullivan here? The dumb bastard even shows zero faith in Vader when he tells Flair Hogan's too good. I mean, are you on the team or not, Kevin? Flair has a plan though. Hogan versus Vader's gonna be a steel cage match. And wait a minute, didn't Hogan actually wrestle Vader in a cage match at Bash at the Beach 95? Didn't Savage also wrestle Flair at that same pay-per-view? Yes they did. And the Baywatch production crew brought their cameras to the event to film the match they use on this episode of Baywatch. It makes me wonder though, were these matches only booked by WCW for the sake of this episode of Baywatch? Or did the Baywatch writers work around WCW's booked matches when putting together this episode? Anyway, Hogan's not gonna know it's a steel cage match until moments before his showdown with Big Van Vader. Another little plan by Ric Flair that makes Kevin Sullivan piss himself with laughter. Back at Casa del Hasselhoff, Big Studley Tom implies that Stephanie's skin cancer has spread. The acting's absolutely terrible, by the way, but also I don't want to offend any Baywatch fans. Or Bay maniacs. Baywatch you gonna do, brother? I don't know. The next morning, Steph gives Caroline a hard time about the crappy sunblock she's been using while on patrol. She then says their jobs make them prime candidates for skin cancer, and then she conveniently turns around to show the bandage stuck on her leg. When Caroline questions this, Steph's like, "Ooh, bamboozled, didn't see that one coming." Steph confides in Caroline. She knows it's bad because of the look on Tom's face, but I don't know guys, I think he looks like that all the time, no matter what the tragedy. Hulk then takes another stab at CJ on the beach. He tells her the money he makes from beating Vader can go in her pocket, and then this generous monetary gift can be traded for some banging. CJ tells Hogan she's gonna call the cops, and Hulk saves his ass by saying he meant clanging and banging, not just straight banging. Miss Anderson has no faith in Hulk, just like Sullivan has no faith in Vader. Hulk's like, "What's Vader gonna do? Crush me?" And CJ's like, yeah, did you see the size of that guy? Meanwhile, some edgelords are pretending to surf on a giant rock, and that's blunder number 6. Don't be an asshole, kid. Of course, he slips and he falls in the water, but look at that rock closely in slow motion. That's one bouncy piece of solid minerals right there. Young Connor here then puts out his left arm to stop the rock falling on him, but somehow he gets his right arm stuck. So Hulk Hogan runs into the water like a big galloping horse, and my god, Terry Boulder makes the boulder do the J.O.B. on Baywatch. Such strength would surely impress CJ, but he completely ruins his chances by farting on the kid's head. Blunder number 7, Hogan setting his balls on Connor's dome. Meanwhile, Steph's on beach duty, and she's being a bit pushy when telling everyone to put on their sunscreen. To be fair, these two girls here are so red, I mistook them for demons who just rose from the fiery depths of hell, so yeah, safety first, you fucking lobsters. So Steph continues to tell everyone inside to put on strong sunscreen, and when she gets home, Tom pays her a visit with some bad news. More tests are needed and they need to see if the cancer's spread. It's a bit grim, not gonna lie. But turn that frown upside down, because Hulk Hogan's got a great idea that has absolutely nothing to do with Stephanie. No, Hulk wants to go on a run around the beach and everyone, including the Lifeguards, are gonna join in. Hulk says this is for Sonny, this is for the youth club, and this is for the possibility of sliding into Pamela Anderson's DMs after knocking out Big Van Vader. And here we go, training montage with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. American Made gets played here as kids join Hogan in his quest for the ultimate beach body. Kids are coming from the beach, they arrive from the nearby park, kids are falling from the sky just to get in on this hot montage action. And even the chubby kids are inspired by the power of Hulkamania, although to be fair, I think our guy here should maybe take a break. Hulk and Macho finish up their run while American Made continues to play in the background. And look, you can see crew members all over the place. Were these guys even trying? Maybe they're visible because Hogan and Macho are portraying themselves, famous wrestlers who would have media attention, but I don't know, man. There's not enough evidence though to give it a blunder point. Steph and Davey Hasselballs have a heart-to-heart on the beach, and just as I thought, these two were once a couple. David says he'll always have Steph's back, and I'd bet money that these two end up getting back together while Dirty Tom was left high and dry. It's now time for the big matches at the Baywatch Bash at the Beach. The promos are being cut in the exact same tent that was used for the Bash at the Beach 1995 pay-per-view, and Randy Savage is the man of the hour here. Randy's promos fantastic.
I am the tower of power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey, sky's the limit and space is the place, ooh yeah!
Nature Boy Ric Flair calls Kevin Sullivan the Taskmaster during his promo.
The way I figure it's Taskmaster, we'll get rid of the red, because yellow is more their color!
Sullivan continues to laugh like an absolute moron, and I don't know why, but Cody getting Macho's attention in this next part made me laugh just like the Taskmaster.
Macho Man?
Yes!
What's your plan?
The promos between Savage and Flair continue, and the longer they go, the more Kevin Sullivan's brain begins melting away. It's getting a bit dangerous, so let's check out the first match, Flair vs Randy Savage. If you look at the Bash at the Beach pay-per-view with the Baywatch footage, you can see they're exactly the same, only with different camera angles and much better cameras being used for Baywatch. As a matter of fact, the Baywatch footage looks incredibly vibrant with all the post-processing, while the WCW pay-per-view looks terrible. On the pay-per-view, Flair vs Savage was billed as a lifeguard match, pretty much a lumberjack match where guys would throw Savage or Flair back into the ring if they tried to run away or if they got thrown out. And on the pay-per-view, Baywatch Lifeguards also made an appearance, but none of the big hitters. I guess the fee for Pamela Anderson must have been way too much. Of course, the Baywatch edit's been cut for maximum effect, but they also managed to screw a few things up. First of all, the sound effects are hilariously bad when someone gets punched, and maybe even less forgivable is the fact that Randy won with a double axe handle, while on the pay-per-view he won with the elbow drop. Blunder point number 8, when we see the Macho Man, we want to see the elbow drop. Hulk rubs it in when Flair gets to the backstage tent, and Flair says, "Joke's on you, buddy." There's a cage getting set up outside, and Hulk's like, "That wasn't part of the deal, brother." You see, Hulk, you should really be ready for anything. You're the world champion, my guy. He's got fear in his eyes now as Flair says Vader's gonna take his belt away, and as Vader makes his entrance while wearing his singlet backwards, we can see Klondike Bill standing beside the ring steps. Let it be known that Klondike Bill was in an episode of Baywatch. Dennis Rodman comes out with Hulk Hogan, and this isn't mentioned at all in Baywatch. You can see him, but he's not mentioned by name. One of the biggest, most popular sportsmen of this particular era, and they couldn't somehow use him as a proper guest star. Cody comes out with the other lifeguards for Hogan's entrance on the pay-per-view, but Pamela Anderson's nowhere to be found. On the Baywatch episode, CJ can be seen in the audience, so again, I don't think Bischoff and company were prepared to cough up the money for Pamela to appear on a WCW broadcast. All the shenanigans from the pay-per-view match are missing, such as Hogan putting on Vader's entrance gear and Dennis Rodman fighting off the Zodiac and Kevin Sullivan. And blunder point number 9 goes to the end of the Hogan match where our main man wins with a big boot. No leg drops here, brother. Hollywood heads to the back where Flair's holding the property deeds. Macho snatches the paperwork out of Flair's hand while holding a load of Slim Jims, and the deeds get handed over to Sonny. Hogan, Savage, the lifeguards, and the kids from the youth club celebrate on the beach, and Hulk tries one more time to get CJ's digits, but she tells him to fuck off. Our show ends on quite a sad note as Stephanie finds out her cancer has indeed spread, but don't worry guys, she doesn't die from cancer or anything. No, she gets crushed to death by a fallen sailboat mast. It's all good. Nine blunder points in total, far behind Ric Flair as WCW president, and I think that's fair because, you know what, I was actually pretty entertained watching this whole episode of Baywatch. Evidently, I know nothing about the show, but I think I've completely grasped the whole concept, and it's all thanks to Hogan, Savage and company. Will I go out of my way to watch another episode of Baywatch? Absolutely not. But I do kinda appreciate how the show had something for everyone. You know, emotional drama for your mom, girls in swimsuits for your horny deadbeat stepdad, Hulk Hogan for the little Hulkamaniacs in your household. I can definitely see and appreciate the show's appeal, whereas before I thought it was nothing but half-naked women saving stupid fucks who can't swim and David Hasselhoff uppercutting sharks. This episode is a little dumb though, it's a little corny. I thought Ric Flair did a great job in his role, but that's just because it's Ric being Ric, and he definitely would have made for a wonderful comedy villain on a weekly television show. So yeah, all in all, it's stupid and silly, but still watchable, especially if you're into mid-90s pro wrestling. Who's going to be featured in episode 3 of Blunder, and can someone knock President Ric Flair off the top of our Blunder leaderboard? Join me next time and we'll find out. Thanks for watching, folks, and please take care.